Hello everyone! In this week's video, I'm trying Ibis Paint X on the iPad for the first time. I am also drawing my original characters playing Among Us. Oh, also, before we start, I want to mention that I'm doing another video where you all help me design an original character. If you'd like to participate, all of the info is in the description and the pinned comment. In my first iPad video, many of you wanted to see me try Ibis Paint X. I hope I'm saying it right. Many of you said Ibis Paint wasn't correct and that it's Ibis. So yeah. If you don't know what it is a free drawing app that lets you make art. I think it's available on PC, Android, and iOS, so it's on many different platforms. So far I've only used Procreate on my iPad and I'm excited to try out a new app. I'm curious if I will like this free app more than Procreate. Like I mentioned, Ibis Paint X is free to use, but it does have ads. I'll be blocking them out with the power of editing. I'm going to start by importing my sketches that I drew on the computer. I'm drawing a lot of pictures today, so I thought I would just draw the sketches on my computer and then finish them in this video. So I'm going to start by getting familiar with the software and using some of the brushes and stuff. As you can see, some of them have this lock by them. If I want to use those for free, I need to watch an ad. After I watch the ad, I get access to the brushes for 18 hours. There are so many brushes. I should have scrolled through to show you all of them, but yeah, there are so many. Also, I like how these little blue boxes pop up to tell you what things do. Kind of like a mini tutorial. When you open Procreate, it tells you absolutely nothing, but this gives you a little tutorial, which is nice. Over here we can find all of the layers and their settings. So far I'm noticing that this app is a lot closer to something like Clip Studio or other drawing softwares on the computer. Also, there's this materials area that has all kinds of patterns, backgrounds, word balloons, and so much other stuff. It's really cool. So when I was getting familiar with Ibis Paint, I had a really easy time learning where everything is and figuring out what things do. Compared to Procreate, I was searching how to do really simple things in Procreate like every 2 minutes. So after getting familiar with everything, I'm going to start working on the line art. I decided to turn up stabilization all the way. Stabilization helps my lines be smoother and less shaky. To be honest, I wish the stabilization could be a little bit stronger just because I like stabilization to be really strong because my hands are kind of shaky. But it still does definitely help a lot. So I'm now working on the art, and like I mentioned at the start of the video, I'm drawing my original characters from my webcomic, My Next Door Neighbors, playing Among Us. And I'm drawing them as if they are playing the game, so just to make things clear, they are playing the game, they aren't actually in a spaceship trying to get each other. If you haven't read my webcomic or you don't know my original characters, don't worry, I'll introduce you to the characters as I draw them. If you'd like to read My Next Door Neighbors, I post it here on YouTube. I've also started posting it on Webtoon, but only the older chapters are on there so far. Also, if you haven't played Among Us, I'll quickly explain it. Basically, you are a bunch of crew members on a spaceship trying to get tasks done, but there is an imposter trying to take out the normal crew members, or crewmates. I don't know what to call them. If the imposter gets most of the other players, they win. But if all of the other crewmates finish their tasks before the imposter gets them, or the crewmates figure out who the imposter is, they win. I really love playing this game with my siblings. All of my siblings and I have been playing it together, and it's so much fun trying to figure out who the imposter is. I've tried playing it online a little bit, but it's not as fun. It's a lot more fun to play with people you know, because you can kind of like study them and their mannerisms and just trying to figure out who's lying and who's telling the truth. So right now I'm working on Doris. She is the main character of my webcomic. Doris is shy and kind of timid. She gets scared really easily. When she is a crewmate, she tends to stick next to someone so the imposter can't get her. She is very jumpy and tends to scream if the imposter gets her. Doris isn't super quick to think people are the imposter though. She does kind of believe that everyone is good, and she doesn't want to think that they're betraying her and being the imposter. So she's not super quick to like think people are the imposter, but at the same time she's scared of everyone as if they are the imposter. If Doris is the imposter, she doesn't try to get anyone because she feels bad. She just does a bunch of sabotaging in hopes that she can win without having to get anyone. Her favorite task to complete is watering plants in Mira HQ. Also, it's so cute how one of them looks like a Korok. I noticed that the other day and I'm like, oh my word, it looks like a Korok. Also, I want to mention that I love the Bezier Curve tool. I don't know if I'm saying it right, but it's so nice for drawing things like helmets or super long curving lines. It does fade out a lot at the ends and I wasn't sure how to make it not do that. I kept looking at the settings, but it kept fading out. If you know how to make it not fade out, I would love to hear about it in the comments or any other tips you have. I'm still getting used to drawing line art on the iPad and my hand can be kind of shaky, so the Bezier Curve tool is nice to use sometimes when I have to draw large curving areas. After finishing the line art, I need to fill in the base colors. I needed the colors for my characters, so I made a color chart on the computer and then I imported it into Ibis Paint. I then select the colors and add them to my color palette. It's really nice that you can save colors. The blue tip boxes kept popping up when I was trying to get all of the colors into my color palette. That was a little annoying because by this time I kind of knew what everything did. But they are still really helpful if you don't know what anything does. One thing I do want to mention is that sometimes the quick eyedropper pops up just when I'm trying to draw. Like I'll do small little movements, but the software will think I'm trying to hold my pen in place and it makes the eyedropper pop up. It's a little annoying sometimes. I wonder if there's a way to change that. There probably is in the settings. I probably just need to snoop around more. Also, the characters are wearing the colors that match their colors in my webcomic. The main cast has certain colors that they wear, like Doris wears blue and Annabelle wears purple. In this picture I'm drawing, Doris is scared and wants to stick with Annabelle. Annabelle may look cute, but don't let her looks fool you. She has no problem standing up for herself and telling the truth even if it hurts. If Annabelle is a crewmate, she tries to stick with Doris, making sure the imposter doesn't get her. Annabelle is really good at figuring out who the imposter is. She's always studying the other players' movements and looking for suspicious behavior. If Annabelle is the imposter, you better watch out. She comes up with calculated plans in order to take out the other crewmates as sneakily as possible. She makes good use of the air vents and sabotaging. However, Annabelle never goes for Doris. She just lets Doris carry on with her tasks. She doesn't want to betray Doris's friendship and trust. Also, I'm keeping these illustrations more simple. I'm drawing them in the style of my webcomic, so I use a lot of cell shading for the shadows. For the shadow layers, I set them to multiply. I am using more gradients than usual, so it is a little bit more fancy than my webcomic. But it's pretty close to my webcomic style. So here's the finished picture of Annabelle and Doris. Now we'll move on to Chase and Bryson. One thing that is really cool about Ibis Paint X is that it records your drawing and makes little speed paint videos for you. I like how with these you don't see me zooming in and out. It stays with us just seeing the entire canvas, so that's really cool. Procreate also makes videos and that's one of the reasons why I bought it. I didn't know that Ibis Paint also makes videos. Also, I noticed while exporting my files from Ibis that it supports Clip Studio Paint files, which is so cool. So I can export my drawings from Ibis Paint to Clip Studio Paint, and it'll keep all of my layers. Other drawing programs hardly ever support Clip Studio Paint files, so I think it's really cool that it supports Clip Studio Paint. I filled in Chase and Bryson with their base colors, and I was going to start shading them. But then I decided I wanted to add a background. I wasn't planning to add a background, but I thought a background might make it feel more dramatic. I noticed that Ibis has rulers. They have many different ones, and I was most interested in the perspective ruler. I set it to 1 point perspective because I wanted Chase and Bryson to be in a hallway. And yeah, I didn't really know what I was doing. I kept trying to figure out the ruler and how to draw with it. I couldn't really figure it out. I probably need to look up a tutorial. I kind of just used it as a guide. It still was really helpful as a guide. I took the same material I used for Doris and Annabelle's picture and transformed it to match the perspective ruler. I wasn't trying to make the background super fancy or anything. I just wanted us to have an idea of what their surroundings are like. I used another material for the flooring. It's a hexagon pattern. I wanted to make the floor a little bit more interesting and not so plain. To make the hallway feel creepier, I have it fade into darkness. This made it seem a lot more creepy. So now I'm going to start shading Chase and Bryson. Chase is the one in red. Chase is outgoing and friendly. He's very talkative and tries to include others. When he is a crewmate, he likes to stick together with other crewmates and get tasks done together. But if he's suspicious of someone, he tries to avoid them or stick with other people that he thinks are not the imposter. He can be a little too trusting sometimes and ends up following the imposter. If Chase is the imposter, he waits for a good opportunity to strike. However, he tries not to go for Doris. He'd feel bad making her lose. He has a soft spot for Doris. He's not very good at coming up with alibis, so people often figure out that he is the imposter. Bryson isn't the most talkative of people. He prefers to keep to himself. He can be very blunt and has a tendency to hurt people's feelings because of it. If Bryson is a crewmate, he just goes about his business trying to get his tasks done. He doesn't pay too much attention to what other people are doing. If Bryson is the imposter, others have a hard time figuring out if it's him. He doesn't say much and comes up with short and straightforward answers. I guess you could say he has a good poker face. But because of this, sometimes people think he's the imposter, even when he isn't, just because he's kind of hard to read. So we have Chase, who is a crewmate, heading for a task, and Bryson is walking in the same direction, going towards his task. Chase is suspicious of Bryson because he always seems a little suspicious, so Chase doesn't like that Bryson seems to be following him. I had a lot of fun drawing their faces in this picture. So now we're going to move on to the last picture, which features Emmett and Faith. One thing that Ibis Paint has that is really neat is the ability to make panels. You just tap to add a frame, and then you can cut the frame into multiple panels. I feel like you could totally make a comic in this app. You can also add word balloons and text. I decided to do this in Clip Studio Paint just because I like the text font that I have on the computer. Emmett is friendly and has an easygoing personality. He likes to have fun and hang out with family and friends. When Emmett is a crewmate, he is suspicious of everyone, and he's always trying to find the imposter. He can be too quick to come to conclusions and presses the red button way too often. If Emmett is the imposter, he just strikes whenever he can. He isn't very calculated and tries to move as fast as possible. The other crewmates often figure out that is him because he's not good at covering his tracks. Faith loves all things music. She also loves to perform. Faith is kind and nurturing. She cares a lot about her family and friends. When Faith is a crewmate, she's good at keeping calm and getting tasks done. She doesn't jump to conclusions and likes to listen to everyone's side of the story. If Faith is the imposter, she's good at not being suspicious and pretending to finish tasks. She always comes up with believable alibis that line up with where she is on the map and what she was doing. She often wins when she's the imposter. So in the picture we have Emmett, who's going to press the red button. He thinks Bryson is the imposter because he was following Chase. We have Faith in the background not acting suspicious when really she's the imposter. Let's just say I never thought I'd have to draw Faith holding a knife like that. I really love how Ibis Paint has a materials area, especially the materials for comics. I added these speed lines to make Emmett's panel feel more dramatic. Also, is there a square or rectangle selection tool? I was trying to get rid of the lines outside of the panel, and I couldn't find a good way to select them. I ended up using the eraser set to a filled square to get rid of the lines, but I feel like it'd be nice to have a square selection tool, but I couldn't find one, so there might not be one. I'm not totally sure. So what do I think of Ibis Paint, and do I like it more than Procreate? I really enjoyed working with Ibis Paint X. It's really easy to understand and use. Like I mentioned earlier, it's very similar to drawing softwares on the computer, so if you have experience with drawing softwares on the computer, it's a lot easier to learn. I was able to adapt really easily to this app. I got used to it way faster than Procreate. I've used Procreate quite a few times now, and I'm still trying to get used to it and remembering how to use all the different things and where everything is. I feel like I need to use both Ibis Paint and Procreate more before I come up with a final decision. But so far I'm thinking I kind of like Ibis Paint a little bit more. It just feels a lot more familiar to me, and it was a lot easier for me to work with. I also like all of the different brushes and how they are pretty easy to use. Procreate does offer a lot of brushes and they are really customizable, but it's a little confusing and I don't really like a lot of the default brushes, and I heard other people don't like the default brushes very much too. So I've been having a hard time learning the brushes and how to make them how I want them. But Ibis Paint has so many different brushes that it's easy for me to just find one I like. Maybe I should try making a finished illustration. I haven't done that yet on the iPad. I just kind of keep sketching, so if you'd like to see me make a finished illustration in Ibis Paint X, please let me know in the comments. So here are my finished illustrations of my original characters playing Among Us. It was so much fun imagining how my characters would play the game. I always love getting to draw my characters, and it was really fun drawing them in a new setting. I thought it'd be kind of tricky drawing them in spacesuits, but I kept the design pretty simple, so it wasn't too bad, and it was actually really fun drawing the spacesuits. Thank you so much to my lovely patrons over on Patreon, including Terry, Bela, Kawochi, Katie, Rogelio, Theridon Gray, Trash Oracle, Lou6562, Hollow Studio, Dozar89, and Miles to Go, Luziel, Panda Bear, Patrick, Aaron, Andre, Robert, Artist Ever After, Tamalim, Twin Vani, Rachel, and Eduardo. Thank you so much for your support, it means so much to me. And thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you all next week in my next video. Bye!